In case you haven't heard, the late Ravi Zacharias has been accused of sexual missteps, to put it lightly, that are so abhorrent that it causes us to completely reevaluate this individual and how we should view him as Christians. I'm going to be making a series of videos on the new allegations, the evidence, and what we should do in response. Today, this video is going to be mainly about exactly what the new report has to say about Ravi and whether or not we can trust it. In the next few videos that I'm going to release on this channel very soon, I'm going to address questions such as, was Ravi really a Christian? What should we do if we make these people false idols in our lives? And other topics relating to this tragedy. Now, before I start, I just want to give my personal biases about making a video like this. Number one, I loved Ravi Zacharias. I am not someone who wanted to believe the things that he had been accused of. I am someone who loved him. I have greatly benefited from his teachings. I've listened to pretty much every lecture that I could possibly find by Ravi Zacharias. I can't say that he was my favorite apologist, but he was definitely up there and someone that I genuinely respected. So I get it if you are there and you have trouble believing these allegations. Secondly, another bias that I have is I hate false allegations. I do not believe that all claims should be automatically believed. I despise the false allegations that have ruined countless men's lives. So I do not want to be a part of that, and I think every allegation requires evidence before we believe it. Number three, I do not like discernment ministries. I don't like ministries that are dedicated to pointing out the flaws in other leaders. I don't think that is a good methodology. So I think when we do so, it must be extremely warranted. But given all these biases, all of which work in Ravi's favor, I cannot get around the evidence, and neither should you. If I believe in the evidence for the resurrection with multiple independent attestation, then I must believe based on those same principles in the allegations against Ravi Zacharias. The truth is, the evidence is overwhelming that Ravi really did some extremely wicked things. But what exactly did Ravi do? Well, in the new Martin and Miller report, investigators have compiled their findings, and this has not been an exhaustive investigation, but one that I think has uncovered enough that we can comment on the subject. But many of you might be saying, why even talk about this? Don't destroy this man's reputation, because that will cause people to walk away from Christ. And I truly don't think it will. If your faith was based on the character of Ravi Zacharias, even someone like I who respected Ravi Zacharias, my faith is not shaken even in the slightest. Now, am I profoundly sad based on the allegations that have come forth? Absolutely. It is okay to be sad, but it is not okay to place our faith in a man other than Jesus Christ. And secondly, the importance of this is, number one, so that we get truth out. Number two, so that we can learn lessons from this. I think there are some valuable lessons that we need to understand what actually happened in order for us to learn these lessons properly. In the next few videos, I'm going to be going over those lessons. And number three, I think it is extremely important for the victims of Ravi Zacharias, the women who Ravi abused. This is their time of vindication, and if we truly love the individuals whom Ravi did not love, the individuals whom he abused and used as objects, then if we are going to be the true body of Christ, then we need to come and surround these women with love. We may not know who they are, but the best thing that we can do is call out the man who abused them. We need to shout it from the rooftop so that all people know, and so that those women are vindicated. That is the loving thing to do. Before I go into the response, let's take a look at the Martin and Miller report to see what it actually says. So I just want to go through this and highlight some of the important points. We're going to read a decent amount of this. That way you are informed as to what exactly has happened. And then in the future videos, we are going to go into what exactly this means. How should we react to this? So the first thing I want to highlight is this paragraph. Though our investigation was not limited to the spa allegations reported in Christianity Today, we had to make judgment calls about how broadly to investigate. For example, we did not enlist resources on the ground in Asia, where Mr. Zacharias frequently traveled to locate and interview witnesses there. With over 200 massage therapist contacts in Mr. Zacharias' phones, including many overseas, we did not think it worthwhile to attempt an exhaustive survey, and instead sought to speak with those we thought were most likely to have relevant information or who otherwise reached out to us. At times, we received second-hand and uncorroborated information that we chose not to pursue and instead focus on more definite leads. These were not limitations placed on us by RZIM or the board committee, but decisions that we made primarily because we found enough evidence to answer the ultimate question we were hired to investigate. So basically, this is saying that, listen, the stuff that you are about to read in this report is not an exhaustive thing of everything that Zacharias has done. This is not even an exhaustive survey of all of the evidence that could possibly be found. They didn't check all leads, and they only kept the best information from eyewitness accounts rather than secondhand sources. And given the fact that Ravi has over 200 contacts in his multiple phones, means that it's possibly hundreds of people that Ravi has sexually assaulted. Although we were able to interview only one of the massage therapists anonymously referenced in the Christianity Today article, our investigation revealed many other massage therapists who corroborate her account. Several massage therapists confirmed Mr. Zacharias' frequent efforts to, quote, try for more than a massage, as one therapist puts it. 8 therapists reported that Mr. Zacharias would start the massage either completely nude or would remove the sheets during the massage. 6 therapists reported that he always or almost always had an erection during the massage. 4 therapists reported that he would either touch his genitals or ask them to touch his genitals. And 5 therapists reported that he touched or rubbed them inappropriately. This, if true, and we have no reason to suspect that it is not true, unfortunately, is something that no Christian obviously should be acting in. Number one, massages in general by the opposite sex are something that either a Christian should not engage in at all, or should be extremely careful while doing so. Now, it is true that Ravi had back pain, and I don't know if he had any other conditions, but he had to go through these massages, at least supposedly, for medical reasons. And if you need a medical massage, then perhaps that is okay. But the fact that he is getting erections every time, or at least almost every time, suggests that he should have gotten a male to do the massaging instead of a female. That way he is not lured into that spot of temptation. Remember, Jesus tells us that if you even look at another woman lustfully, that you have already committed adultery in your heart. And every single time that Ravi engaged in one of these massages, he was committing adultery in his heart. Some therapists pushed back on his behavior with some success. One reported that she would re-drape him if he removed the sheets. She told him when she was uncomfortable and told him that he would have to leave if he did not stop. One therapist responded to his attempts to rub her legs by moving his arm back onto the table and at times even binding his arms with sheets into a sling to keep them from wandering. She refused his frequent requests to touch his genitals. Another therapist told him that she did not feel comfortable and would stop him when he would rub her leg up to the mid-thigh and grab her waist, which was, quote, an obvious cue that he wanted more. Another therapist also refused when he got her to, quote, go lower. And Ravi, unfortunately, would actually memorize different languages, different ways of saying go lower or go further or do more. These were apparently constant things that he would do to try to get more than a massage. And she admonished him on several occasions when he would start touching himself. He asked the same person to travel overseas to massage him on trips, but she was not comfortable with him and was afraid that she would not be able to afford a plane ticket home if she felt the need to return early. She reported that she could see how more than a massage would have happened if a therapist did not feel comfortable speaking up and pushing back. So some therapists were actively pushing back and had to keep saying, no, stop. And actually, some of them actually had to bind his hands so that he wouldn't touch them inappropriately. Does this sound like Christian behavior? Some therapists reported even more serious and sustained sexual assault that evolved over time. Two therapists obliged his request to masturbate him, telling one of them it was necessary because his pain was, quote, ligamental. While 5 women reported that he touched and grabbed their legs, 2 said he eventually went beyond that with them, rubbing their breasts and genitals. One therapist further reported that she was struggling financially, and Mr. Zacharias offered to help pay for her schooling and monthly living expenses, in addition to compensating her for the massage. See below in the discussion of Touch of Hope. She told us that the more we saw each other, the more he became comfortable and wanted to go further. She told us she felt obligated to do what he asked because of the financial support he provided. In addition to these direct accounts, these and other witnesses claim to know or to have heard Mr. Zacharias' abuse or attempted abuse of other massage therapists, but we did not credit such hearsay. This is not just a Christian slipping up. This is a coordinated effort to take this woman and repeatedly abuse her. Ravi would push further and further and further each time. He would probe to find where she was weak. He would try to make her financially and emotionally reliant on him. This is what abusers do. They make the other person feel like they need them. And then once they get their claws hooked in the other person's life, this person feels obligated to do whatever Ravi tells her to do. This is not someone who accidentally made a mistake. This is someone who is patient and methodical in his abuse. Only one of the witnesses we interviewed said that Mr. Zacharias engaged in sexual intercourse. This witness reported details of many encounters over a period of years that she described as rape. To protect her identity, this report does not disclose many of the details she shared with us. Some information is related below because aspects of Zacharias' behavior towards this witness were similar to his conduct with other therapists, specifically the use of ministry funds to provide financial support, the effort to elicit personal information about a difficult past, and Mr. Zacharias' use of religious language during their encounters. The fact that Ravi is probing to learn personal information not in order to help these women, not in order to minister to their needs. He is delving into their personal information to use them as objects to satisfy his sinful and wicked desires. Ravi is probing merely as a tool. He is using religious language as a tool to get these women to do what he wants. And he is using these women ultimately as a tool to fulfill his own evil desires. In fact, you could say that his entire ministry is perhaps even a tool just to give him the resources to do this. This witness told us that their relationship began as a normal massage therapist-client relationship, and she came to think of him as a father figure. He elicited information about her faith and financial situation. She reported that after he arranged for the ministry to provide her with financial support, he required sex from her. According to this witness, Mr. Zacharias used religious expressions to gain compliance, as she was raised to be a person of faith. She reported that he made her pray with him to thank God for the opportunity they had both received. She said he called her his reward for living a life of service to God. He referenced the godly men in the Bible with more than one wife. She said he warned her not to ever speak out against him, or she would be responsible for millions of souls whose salvation would be lost if his reputation was damaged. This, I think, is the scariest part for people who want to continue watching and enjoying Ravi's lectures or book. He would never, ever use the argument that, oh, it's okay to have more than one wife because the godly men of the Bible had more than one wife. How do you think that would fly if he told the other people at RZIM? Or the people, what if he went to a pastor and shared that argument? Do you think that would fly? He is twisting the Bible to try to get what he wants out of it and out of her. Ravi is completely content to use the Bible not as a source of truth, but as a tool to get what he wants. And in this case, he wants sex. When it comes to you, he wants your money. He wants you to give him your money for his books, for his lectures, for his speaking tours. Is he just using his arguments as a tool to fund his own lifestyle? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but the answer is very likely yes. He calls the woman his reward for living a good life. No, people are not objects. People are not rewards. I think the part that disgusts me the most is the fact that he had her pray and thank God. He has no hesitation to enter before the presence of the Almighty before committing this evil act. In fact, during committing this evil act, trying to make God a partner in his evil. That's exactly what he's doing. He is trying to make God a partner in his evil. I don't even want to imagine what Ravi's trial is going to look like on Judgment Day. And in the next video, we're going to go into the question, was Ravi still a Christian? Spoiler alert, no. No. Could Ravi have repented? Yes, he could have. Do we have any reason to believe that he repented? No. This is the act of a cult leader, not a Christian. You see, this is the problem with having people who are so charismatic that they can make you believe whatever they want you to believe about them. Everybody looked up to this man as a godly man, but in reality, he is merely a hollow shell using this godly persona as a way of getting what he wants. Our investigation was limited to Mr. Zacharias' sexual misconduct, and even as to that, the issue was not exhaustive.
We acknowledge that we have not spoken to all individuals who may have relevant information to provide. We strive to balance the need for completeness with the need for expediency, and we are confident that we have uncovered sufficient evidence to conclude that Mr. Zacharias engaged in sexual misconduct. So that is the bottom line.
But many of you may be asking, why are all of these allegations coming out now? Well, how convenient that all these things are coming out right when the man has no chance to defend himself. The reason they're all coming out now is just that, because the man can't defend himself. Based on the report, we've seen what Ravi has done to people who have tried to get in his way. He will use all of the resources, the seemingly infinite resources at his disposal, to destroy, silence, and persecute these individuals who have already been victimized by him. We have seen what happens to individuals when they get in Ravi's way. People who are supposed to be keeping him accountable, Ravi has shunned them within the organization. He has silenced people within the organization. He has attacked people without the organization. So if you're a woman who is already so troubled based on what Ravi did to you, do you think you're going to have the courage to stand up when others have already been attacked? The reason that these allegations are coming out now is because not only is Ravi an abuser, but he is also someone with an extreme amount of power who has no love in his heart for the people that he is willing to crush under his finger. But what if all of these women are actually lying? Well, if you believe all of these women are lying, then you should just abandon Christianity, because if that many people can hold a lie together, can hold a conspiracy together, then how do you know the disciples didn't do the same thing? Now, granted, the evidence for the resurrection is slightly stronger than this, but if you're going to be consistent, then you are going to believe both accounts. In fact, the only reason to doubt these women is because you have an unhealthy view of Ravi Zacharias as someone who is untouchable, someone who, oh, of course he couldn't fall. Well, of course he could fall. That's what the Bible tells us. If you have a biblical view of sin, then you know how wicked, how deceitful, and how deceptive it can be. So it should not actually be surprising to us that Ravi has done these things. It should be profoundly sad, but it is not beyond a biblical worldview of the situation. And the last thing that people will often say is, we shouldn't attack Ravi because he's already dead. I mean, it's unfair to attack someone when he's not here to defend himself. And I'm sorry, but this is stupid. This is a stupid, foolish thing to say. That's it. Do you think the disciples were improper for writing about Judas and what Judas did, even though he was already dead by the time the Gospels were written? Were the disciples acting improper? No, there is no biblical warrant for saying you can't attack someone after they're dead. That just doesn't exist. Now, if they're alive, great, and they have the chance to defend themselves, great. But if they're not, that doesn't stop us from vindicating the women who have been abused. And if we as Christians take this moment to help Ravi, even in his death, cover up the evil things that he did and have been proven that he has done, if we do this, then the only thing that we do is ensure that next time it's a little bit easier for another Ravi to do the exact same thing. Let us be loving, even when it's against someone that we truly used to admire. In the next video, I am going to be talking about the question, was Ravi truly a Christian? Is he going to heaven or is he going to hell? I'm also going to talk about idolizing leaders and other interesting topics. So subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this or videos about apologetics and theology. Even as painful as these new revelations are, I just want to encourage you with this. There is a reason that God is bringing this to light in the church, and we better pause and heed the lessons that God is teaching us. God bless you. Until next time, farewell.